everyone. My name is Stephen Goldberg of Optimus Performance, bringing you practical tips and ideas on leadership, team development, and employee performance in the workplace. And I'm really excited and happy to have a special guest, Peter Mohr. Did I pronounce your last name correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know how to say the H.
Yeah. No,
I
it's
guess
it's silent.
it's silent.
More or less.
Right. So we're going to talk about entrepreneurship and about what Peter does to help businesses, business owners. Peter helps entrepreneurs transform their frustrations into freedoms by using a variety of frameworks that help them cut through the chaos and overwhelm of running a business. He's refined his tips and tools and techniques within his own business over the past 25 years and loves sharing them so others can live the life they deserve as business leaders.
Yeah.
So that's great. That's, I guess, something we all want. There's a lot of key words in there. Let me just start, Peter, because I know in your email, you had an email address connected with, I guess, one of your businesses, which is a shoe retail.
Mm-hmm.
I think you mentioned you had several stores.
Yeah, we just have two right now. We have shoe stores here in Canada called Shoetopia, and have had those for the last 12 years. As when I bought the first one, it was an existing business, and then we bought another one. We moved it, we closed it. It was a disaster. We opened another one, and it's great. And we currently stand with two. And they're great businesses. I love footwear. I've owned many other businesses in the past. We've had bathroom renovation companies. We've had cleaning franchises. I've been a business helping people buy and sell businesses as a business broker. So done lots of different things along the way. But footwear is a big part of what I do. And I basically spend about a day a week with the shoe stores these days, and most of the rest of the time with simplifying entrepreneurship.
So that's an interesting thing, because I think a lot of business owners would like to figure out how they can have the freedom to decide to spend just one day a week or more, but that takes certain organization and freedom. How did you come to create that situation where you could have that freedom of choice to just spend one day a week and still have a profitable business? What was the steps or keys to that?
I think really it boils down. I'm writing a book right now, Stephen, and it's all around these 5 P's to create that. And the 5 P's that I use starts with the promise, and then in alignment, you need to have your product or service, if you're a service business, aligning to the promise, your process, all the processes in your business aligning to that, your people aligning to that, so that you can enjoy the right amount of profit, which is the last one there. And when we have full alignment of this, that gives you back your freedom, because when everything's working, and I used when we were hopping on, it's like my business is pretty much running on rails, like the Shoetopia side of things running on rails. So I'm not needed for all of the minor decisions that are made in Shoetopia every day. I really am not. We also talked, you just got back from a wonderful vacation for a month. Well, I took a month off the month before you did. And when I came back from that trip, I walked into the office and I said, "So what's up?" And my bookkeeper said, "I have nothing for you. We're good to go." And, my other person who looks after marketing and inventory and a lot of that sort of stuff for me, basically I said, "So what's up?" And he said, "We got a couple of meetings this week. They're already in your calendar, and we're good." Well, you've already seen the dashboard. It's like we have a dashboard set up. I already knew what I was coming back to. So, and it was already taken care of, because we have everything in alignment. And that doesn't mean that I can be completely gone. I'm there. I'm like, I fill in where I need to fill in. I do what I need to do and all this other stuff. But on a day-to-day sort of basis, I'm spending, give or take, a day a week in that side of the business, because that's how I've designed it to happen. And as a former business broker, it's interesting too, because people often sell their business because they're frustrated, they're overwhelmed, they're overworked, they feel as though they are done with it. Well, if you're truly working in your area that you love to work in, that brings you joy, that doesn't feel like work, that feels like it's giving you energy, why would you ever want to sell that business?
Right.
And so I think the idea of creating the freedoms and letting go of the frustrations is this idea here. It's like, work in the area that really brings you interest and passion and energy, and leave the rest to other people, because chances are there's other people, like I'll use my bookkeeper, for example. Like, she does the woohoo when she balances, right? She's like, woohoo, you hear her, woohoo. For me, I'm skilled at that. I have a master's. I've got another business degree. I mean, I understand accounting. I'm really good at it, but it frustrates me. And to even think of having to balance something is frustrating to me. Can I do it? Yes, I can, but I don't want to. So why would I not? You set up the right process and have the right person who loves doing that and woohoos when they balance, do that for me in my business.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I've often used that as an example. The accounting side is something that's necessary, that you have to understand and be able to do yourself. But
Yes,
I know I avoid it because I'd rather be doing interacting with people, which is my passion, talking about business, which is another passion, and helping to solve problems, which is my other passion. So I guess that's why I'm in the business I'm in, helping people to improve whatever it is they're doing in their work or in their business. So what are the typical client, you described a lot about, the frustrations that people are faced with and leads them to maybe want to sell their business. So is this typically the type of clients that you work with, people that are frustrated with their business or feel tied down by it, feel it's not moving in the direction they want? Talk about the typical client that you work with as a coach.
Well, I don't work with startups for the most part. There's lots of people. There's lots of people that do that. So I work when people sort of reach certain glass ceilings that they're feeling uncomfortable about. And so typically that's somebody who's basically saying, hey, I've been at this for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever the case is, and I want something different than I currently have. And that often revolves around the fact that they're usually working still 50, 60, 70 hours a week in their business. They're making every decision. They can't take a vacation. Maybe they're making more money now, but they're kind of looking back and saying, okay, well, I've got more money. There's got to be more than that. And so it's like, let's get in and work on some of that stuff. Let's work through how we can address and assign some of these things and allow accountability off of your plate and into somebody else. And a lot of times it's really just even kind of working through this accountability piece where, for the last 3, 5, or 10 years, you've been making every single decision. But in order for you to feel freedom, you have to start releasing this stuff. And how do we do that? Well, we have to make sure that the processes are in right order so that everybody understands what it is you need them to do. And then once they're in the right order, you're assigning them to somebody else. And instead of just saying on your organizational chart or accountability chart, whatever you choose to call it, I like accountability chart. From that perspective, you're not just assigning and putting a name there, but still overriding and still making all the decisions, which I find a lot of entrepreneurs do. You're actually assigning accountability with the understanding that they have all of the tools, all of the information, and all of the process in order to make the decisions so that you don't have to.
So how does that look like practically? I mean, you're describing something that I think everybody can understand is transferring power and decision making to the people that are responsible for carrying out the task,
Correct.
the function. But how do you get from an entrepreneur who's holding on to everything and hasn't given up the decision-making
Yeah.
power, and maybe it's fear-based, maybe he doesn't feel he can trust his staff enough, although, typically he's the one that hired them or she. So how do you get that transformation? What are the steps involved? Enlighten the audience here.
Yeah. I use this line a fair bit, which is you own your business and it shouldn't own you. And when you're starting to feel that your business is owning you, that you can't actually do what you want to do, it's time to take a look in the mirror and reflect back to the day you either started the business or bought the business, and think about what it was that you thought you were going to get out of your life by having this business. And a lot of times, this is an interesting exercise where you're going back and you're saying, hey, 3 years ago, I thought when I started my business, I would have more, whatever that is, whatever more is uniquely yours. And that's perfectly good because it's different for everybody. I would have more time with my family. I would have more opportunity to do this. I would have more money. I would have, whatever those things are, they're uniquely yours. And that's okay. So the thing is we need to go back and craft the business to deliver that to you, because that's why you started or bought the business to begin with. And if it's not aligning that way, then you as the owner need to make that align, because why would you own a business if it's not giving you what you want out of it? Because you can go and work for somebody else and do the same thing with a lot less risk and a lot less frustration.
So if we were, I always like to talk about, what are the symptoms of the problem?
Yeah.
So in this case, the business owner is kind of frustrated, suffering, but also it has an impact on the business and on the people too.
Gosh, yeah.
So what are some of the symptoms besides, the owner feeling frustrated and, I guess, kind of like a slave to the business? What are the things we would see happening from a outsider business perspective, looking at, where the business is at and how the people feel about it that work there?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's really easy to look at the reflection as soon as you do any sort of interviews with the team as to how they're feeling about decision making.
Okay.
A lot of this is about decision making. And, are you making the right decisions? Are you allowing others to make decisions around you? Do they have what they need to make decisions? That's what accountability is. Right. And if you feel as though you need to have the pin and the control on every single little thing, it's never going to get any better. You are at your ceiling. So right. if you want, and that's why I was saying, I'm usually working for those people that basically say, I know I'm here, but I want something different. So now I'm actually ready to make the change. So when you go into that, it's like, okay, let's dig into the team. For example, that P is a big one, right? So when I look at people, which is that second last P, I convert that down into 3 different areas. So do you have the right ideal customer that you're working with to avoid confusion and frustration? Do you have the right team members, and do you have all the right outsourced suppliers and all the suppliers to help deliver the first P, which is the most important, your promise? And so when you get through that sort of stuff, you're really saying to the team, do you believe in the promise of this business? Do you believe in what it is you're trying to do? Do you have the ability to actually make that happen for the client? Because as much as a lot of, I'll call it old school entrepreneurs, believe they need to control everything, your team actually wants accountability. Your team actually wants to be able to make decisions to further your client's benefit. So long as they know with ultimate clarity what the promise is, they're going to make the right decisions to make that happen for the client. And your job as the leader is to communicate what that promise is so that they understand what it is you're trying to do and deliver through the processes that you've created and assigned accountability, so that essentially decisions are made at the lowest level of the organization every single time. And your job as the leader is to make the big decisions, not the small ones. And that's the quickest way to reduce frustration.
When you start working, when a person, a business owner comes to you for help or to work with you, how many actually know what the promise is? Or is it kind of like they've never formulated it, or
a lot of them
forgot
have
it?
So it's this idea of developing the mission and what I call the promise, but from the promise, it's like so much has changed in the last couple of years, Stephen. And, I'll just use a plumber, for example. So a plumber has a promise of whatever that promise was. We are going to come and we're a new home developers, for example, and we're going to take care of all the plumbing in the new house from front to back. Okay, well, that's their old promise. But now what they need to do, because things have changed, let's say, they need to be differentiating themselves and saying that, we are the plumber that you can trust to get it done within 2 days, not 3 weeks. And so they're narrowing their promise down, and they're going to be building their promise on the fact that they're the 2-day turnaround for new house development. And so some of that sort of stuff, some of the language around promises, a plumber's a plumber. Yes, you know what they do and all that sort of stuff. But in the differentiating side of your business and how you're setting yourself uniquely apart from the other people that do pretty much the same thing that you do, you need to really understand that promise, and everybody else on your team. You can see how this aligns. It's like, okay, well, if I'm going to use curing cement for plumbing that takes 72 hours, not 2 hours to cure it, then this isn't going to work. It's not going to align to my product. If I don't have my team aligned, my people aligned to deliver this kind of service, it's not aligning to my promise. So you can see it's like the team, when you're hiring, you're going to align those kind of people that are going to be able to produce the promise. Your clients are going to align to that. Your products are going to align to that. And it doesn't matter whether you're a plumber or whether you're a retail store owner, a lawyer, whatever the case is. You're the guy that does the 1-day flip turnaround for people that are buying houses as a lawyer, and instead of 2-week turnaround. I mean, there's all sorts of different ways to do that, but honing the promise so that you can align everything in behind it is where it all starts. And usually you don't need to change the promise, because you're not going from a plumber to a painter. But at the same time, there's always some stuff to do around honing that to make you uniquely different, so that you can arrange all these different things, and your pricing and profit fall in behind that as well.
So can you, I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Yeah, fire.
Your shoe store, what is the promise?
Oh, I've honed the I've honed the promise down to 9 letters for Shootopia, and it's ooh, ah, and aha. So ooh is the short form of looking in the mirror and going, ooh, those look pretty good. Ah is the short form of taking a deep breath, closing your eyes and going, ah, those feel awesome. And aha is the short form for, aha, I finally found the perfect pair. They look great and feel fantastic. Because usually people think if they look good, they're not going to feel good. And if they feel good, they're not going to look good. So if I can deliver ooh, ah, and aha in every sale, then the person's going to take their bag, take their shoes, and walk out the door and look back at the Shootopia logo and say, Shootopia, that's my favorite shoe store.
That's very good. And how do you then train your staff to implement that? Because I guess there's a methodology to interact with the client in order to validate if they've had that experience. Like, how does that look like in actual practice?
It's generally through proper questioning, Stephen. As you go through sort of the iterate, when somebody comes through, it's like, how are they addressed? How are they brought through? How do we understand what it is they're truly looking for? And how can we take them there? And literally saying, there's a mirror over here, and like, let's go to the mirror, make sure that you're happy. And, how do they feel? Like asking a question, how do they feel? Like, so I need to know, oh, they feel a little tight. Okay, so let's work on something else so that we get you the right feel, right? And then once we found the feeling, then it's like, okay, you've got the moment, right? And you've got the ooh moment. Okay, so now we're almost at the end of the sale, right? And we can work through whatever else they want to work through and all this other stuff. But by the time, even at the till, we're sort of reconnecting back and saying, readdressing the fact that maybe on an early question, well, these were for my daughter's wedding or whatever the case is, or these are for going to the gym. So now you feel that you're going to have a great gym experience type thing, right? And they'll almost always say, yeah, that's the best pair of shoes I've had on in a while, or whatever the case is. There's all these different questioning periods along the way that gives you the confirmation and gives them the confirmation that the decision is right. And you're going to get the ooh, ah, and the aha, so that when you walk away, it's like, I don't need to go anywhere else to get my shoes next time. When I need another pair of athletic shoes, I'm going to come back here. And that's what you want for building loyalty, right?
Yeah, no, it all makes sense. I like the fact that you start with the promise as your number one P, and you align people and processes around
and
that.
Product, right?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
So I start with that promise. Now I'm not buying 6-inch stilettos at my store because they may look good, but in most cases they don't feel good. So they don't add up to our promise. Right. So it's not our customer. Like, we know our customer. So we're going to make sure that our value stack of products is going to align to the promise. Then our process. So all of the different things, how do we fit people? How do they have the opportunity to try stuff on? How do we take them through the cash register? Like, we have a 9-step process at our store that we go through. And it's like, we want to make sure that we're addressing all these 9 steps. So at the end of it, they walk out the door with that feeling, because that's the last step. It's like, did we treat you like family? Did you feel as though, all of these different things that we're trying to build a return customer, so that we don't have to continuously look for new ones?
So can you just repeat again those 5 Ps so people
Absolutely.
catch it?
It all starts with the promise. So understand their problem, what your unique situation is in the middle, so that you deliver them a better life, right? Because everybody buys a better life. So what's their problem? What's your unique solution? And how does their life look like afterwards? So that's the promise. And then we're aligning these middle 3, the product, to make sure that it aligns to that promise and it's not sort of outside of that. The process, all of the things that you do to deliver that promise, and your people. So the people, the 3 components: who's your ideal client, who's your ideal teammate, and who are your ideal outsourced suppliers, working through all of those things in order to deliver the promise. And when you have alignment, you will enjoy the profit around that. And the profit is what gives you your freedom. So then you can actually choose to do what you want to do more than you ever have before. If you elect to stay and earn more money, then that's your choice. If you elect to hire someone else to do some stuff for you, to give your time back, that's your choice. If you elect to, go on a train trip through the Rocky Mountains for a month, that's your choice. But the choices become a little more easy when there's profit there and everything's in alignment.
Well, that's great. What is one free, valuable resource that you can direct people to that will further help them with this 5P process?
Yeah, sure.
I know you have on your website an assessment.
I do.
Is that the tool that they should go?
Yeah, it's a good tool, and that tool it's a wonderful assessment. It's about 40 multiple choice questions. It takes you about 10, 12 minutes to do. But when you fill it out, it will sort of, I love dashboards, green lights, red lights, that sort of stuff. It will dashboard for you the things that you're doing really well in your business and the things that maybe you need to work on. And it'll spit you back a PDF document that's depending on how you answer, between 50 and 60 pages worth of information. So it's a healthy document as far as volume goes, but really sort of gets into the things that you want to be looking at, the things you're doing really well, and the things that you need some improvement on. And then, you go from there on how you're going to take action in order to break through these ceilings that we've been talking about today.
And what's the one question that I should have asked you that would give great value to our audience that I may not have asked you? Is there something that
I think there's so many questions really, and I think the one question we can ask of our audience really is, are you feeling owned by your business? And from that perspective, it's a unique sort of thing. Like if you feel the sort of the stress on your shoulders and sleepless nights and some of those things that, I mean, let's face it, every business owner has some of those. But if you're feeling as though your life is like that, then the real question that you should be asking yourself is, what are you going to do about it? What actions are you going to take to change the way things are so that you can enjoy the life that you actually thought about when we talked about it at the beginning, when you started business and when you were looking at it and you're saying, this is how I think, if I'm a business owner, this is what I think I want to do. If you're not living that, then what are you going to start doing today to change?
That's terrific. Yeah, action is required. It's good to know things, but unless you act on them, and I guess, people tend to act when it becomes more painful. It's like when you get ill, you should have maybe have been eating or exercising better, more or better, and yet you wait. A lot of people wait till the doctor tells them, you better start changing, otherwise you're going to hit that wall pretty soon, faster than you want, and it's not going to feel good. So I hear you.
Stephen, just with regards to that, I created a whole one-page planner, like a planning system for entrepreneurs. And on the very front of that, it's around this idea of health. And I think that's another interesting question too, to leave our clients with. If you aren't healthy, both mentally and physically, how can you run a healthy business?
I agree.
And from that perspective, don't underestimate the value of your health, both mental and physically, on the value of your business. Because there's, I learned this a long time ago. And I remember sitting beside my mom, who was not doing very well at the time, and basically had one wish. And the wish was this: I just wish I felt better again. Yeah. And when you get down to that level, there is only one thing, and it's your health. So think about that, because depending on, hopefully you're not down to that level where the only thing left in life is to start feeling better again so that you can actually live again. But, if you put that on a sliding scale, that's how your business is being run too. So your mental health and your physical health, if you are healthy, you have much more passion and power towards creating a healthy business. And if you're only half healthy, and if you're only 20% healthy, that affects everything you do with your business too. So important.
That's great. Well, Peter, thank you very much. I'm going to put a link in the show notes or description of the video to your website where people can take that assessment and grab that report and think about what they can do to act upon the things that you shared, especially those 5 Ps. I really appreciate you joining with me today and sharing this information. For those who haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to do so you get news of new videos, including these guest experts interviews that I've been starting to do recently. Thank you all for listening, and we'll speak again soon.